Hey, welcome to Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist Podcast. Think Thursday is all about your beautiful, brilliant human brain. We're talking neuroscience. We're talking behavior change. We are talking about your mindset. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Hey there, it's Molly, and welcome back to another Think Thursday from the Alcohol Minimalist. Today we are diving into a topic that I think is kind of perfect for early December, and that is creativity, the brain, and the holidays. Now, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, you might have heard me say that information about the brain can feel a little counterintuitive. It never lines up quite as neatly as we expect. And we've talked about that many times. In the Paradox of Freedom episode, I explained why having fewer choices can actually make us feel more free. And in the episode about novelty for habit change, we explored how doing something new, which sounds kind of disruptive, actually can strengthen consistency. And just recently, in Defensive Pessimism, we learned that mentally preparing for the worst can help us feel calmer and more confident. So it's, the brain rarely behaves the way our intuition predicts. And today's topic is really no different because today we're talking about holiday creativity and why making things, crafting, drawing, baking, building and creating can actually help you and your brain age more slowly, feel more regulated, and experience more joy. And why is that counterintuitive? Because a lot of times those things, those activities sound like they're just a lot of extra work to some people. They sound like they just are going to take a whole bunch of time and cause stress. And so I really want you to listen to why this is actually good for us. And a new study highlighted in the Washington Post found that people who participate in creative activities, even at a beginner level, show patterns of younger looking brains on imaging scans. Creative activities like dancing, making art, learning an instrument, or doing anything that engages curiosity and imagination can strengthen brain connectivity and protect cognitive function as we age. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about what creativity does inside the brain, why childhood crafts mattered more than we realized, how creativity can support behavior change, including reducing urges and rewiring your desire pathways, and some simple, nostalgic holiday craft ideas to help you feel calmer and more grounded this season. So let's get started. And of course, we're going to get started with the science. The study I mentioned looked at thousands of brain scans and found that people who regularly engaged in creative activities had delayed brain aging. So if you've never done creative things before, this is the time to start, right? We all want to delay our brain aging. Their brains, the people that were scanned who had participated in creative activities, their brains looked younger, structurally and functionally, than those who didn't engage in creative pursuits. And here's a part that really stood out to me. You don't need to be good at creativity to benefit from it. This is not about talent. It's not about becoming a painter or becoming a dancer. The benefits were seen in complete beginners too. Because what your brain cares about is the process, not the product. Creativity activates multiple networks at once. It activates the motor cortex, the prefrontal cortex, the reward system, and that default mode network that we talk about, that same network that we've talked about in episodes on mental rest and introspection. The default mode network is activated in creative activities. When we create, all of these areas light up and start communicating. That communication builds new neural pathways and strengthens existing ones. and that supports long-term cognitive health. Creativity also has been shown to reduce cortisol, improve emotional regulation, and create what psychologists call a flow state. You've heard people talk about being in flow. Flow is kind of a focused presence that reduces rumination and anxiety. So, creativity isn't a luxury, it is truly brain care. Now, I want you to think back to your childhood and to childhood memories. I know for me, I have some really vivid memories around specifically, and you know how smell is one of those memories that causes us to really remember, to have really strong memories. Smell is often associated with them. One of them for me is the smell of that poster paint that kids use in school. And I have a very vivid memory of making a snowman, a stuffed snowman, and painting it in school. And so that smell is when I smell that paint and think about that, it reminds me of that time, and it's very fond memory. Things like paper snowflakes. I think people often have memories around making paper snowflakes. Maybe popcorn garlands, gingerbread houses. How many of us have made gingerbread houses with our kids or made them when we were kids? How about those salt dough ornaments? Paper chains with construction paper or greeting cards. Maybe you made your own holiday cards and, have glitter glue that is still embedded in the carpet, right? Those crafts just weren't fun. They were neurologically important. Children's brains learn through hands-on touch, through sensory experience, sensory exploration, the smells, like I said. They learn through novelty and through playful problem solving. When you glued two popsicle sticks together, or threaded a needle through a cranberry string, or tried to cut the perfect paper snowflake, you were strengthening your fine motor skills, building attention pathways, and stimulating dopamine. And that, of course, is the brain's motivation chemical to learn. Creativity in childhood creates a sense of mastery and joy. It grounds big feelings, and it brings the nervous system out of overwhelm and into regulated, tactile, embodied experience. And then somewhere along the way, many of us just kind of stopped being creative. We became adults. We got busy. Crafting may have felt kind of silly, or maybe you've got, imposter syndrome because your neighbor is like, just the crafting guru and you're not as talented. Perfectionism steps in, right? And efficiency tends to replace play. But here's the thing. Your brain never stopped needing those creative inputs. It just kind of stops getting them. We don't play as often. And December, this nostalgical, emotional, overwhelming time of year, is actually the perfect time to reconnect with that creative part of yourself. Let's layer in something especially relevant for this community, and it's why creativity helps with behavior change. One of the reasons people reach for alcohol or for any other habit that doesn't serve them, it is helping them buffer, is to change their internal state. Boredom, stress, loneliness, restlessness, whatever you use, whatever your coping mechanism is, and if it's alcohol, which for many of you listening it is, it becomes a shortcut for switching emotional gears. Creativity also changes emotional states, but in a way that is sustainable, flexible, and, of course, self-generated, not an external agent. It helps you when you engage in a creative activity. Dopamine rises in a regulated way. Your prefrontal cortex becomes more active, which helps later with better decision making. Your nervous system shifts out of fight or flight, that reduction in cortisol. Your mind enters that focused, immersive flow state. And urges and cravings naturally reduce because your attention is occupied and grounded. Creativity also reinforces identity transformation. You stop thinking, I'm someone who needs to drink to relax and unwind, and begins practicing the thought, I'm someone who makes things, who creates, who plays. This is the novelty effect that we explored back in that in that episode on novelty for habit change, which I'll link all these episodes that I've mentioned in the show notes. But doing something new doesn't just build habits, it actually rewires identity. And creativity is one of the most effective novelty pathways we have. This holiday season, which I think we can say has officially begun, right? At least here in the United States, Thanksgiving seems to be the kickoff. And it's filled with, the holiday season itself is filled with sensory overload, disrupted routines, family triggers, stress, and abundant cues for overindulgence. Creativity provides a counterbalance. It's grounding, it's low pressure, it's joyful without being overstimulating, and it connects you to the child part that remembers how to play. It gives your brain something it deeply needs right now: quiet stimulation, embodied presence, tactile comfort. Think of it as a great opportunity for that holiday nervous system to be reset. All right, let's talk about what that actually looks like in reality. No perfection, no Pinterest pressure, no pressure from your perfectly crafty neighbor, no rules, just small, doable, creative acts that help your brain settle and spark joy. So I've got some ideas for you. Number one, absolutely make a paper snowflake. Grab a piece of printer paper, fold it, cut it. Insta childhood nostalgia. Instant dopamine. Now, how about this one? Try a salt dough ornament. Do you remember salt dough? It's the flour, salt, and water, literally. And then you bake it, you paint it. It's tactile relaxation. I think you actually paint it, then bake it, right? No, yeah. Oh, I don't know. Look it up. Salt dough ornament. I'm sure it's all over the internet. How about decorating a gingerbread house? You can buy those kits. You do not have to build it. Just decorate. The icing can be crooked. You don't have to have it all perfectly, lined up. It still counts. Make some holiday cards. Use scraps, use stickers, use watercolors. And actually maybe just make one card. Spend 5 minutes, and you don't even need to send it to anybody. How about painting some pine cones? White acrylic paint, a brush, a pine cone, maybe even a little bit of glitter, and presto, winter magic. You can create a photo collage from the year. I've got this one on my to-do list, and I've got the photos at least collected now, and gonna work on those. You can even do this online, right? And that's okay. You can print a few pictures and then make a collage and tape it to the fridge. Do a puzzle or a holiday themed coloring page. Strategic creativity counts too. And lastly, try a new recipe. Treat cooking as a creative act. Doesn't have to be holiday specific. Creativity through taste and texture stimulates the same networks. The study from the Washington Post makes this very clear. Even beginners benefit, even people who feel uncreative. And that's because your brain, again, benefits from the process and not from the outcome. Doesn't have to be perfect. One last layer that I want to add. Creative activities don't only regulate emotion or slow brain aging. They help create meaning. They deepen memories. They expand time. They anchor presence. In recent episodes on time, perception, and awe, we talked about how novelty, attention, and emotional depth make life feel fuller and more expansive. Creativity does all three. And during a season that often feels like it rushes by in a blur, creativity helps you slow down. It helps you notice. It gives the holidays texture, color, and story. So, as you move into this next week in December, I want to invite you into something simple and profound. Make one small thing. Not because it's practical, not because you're good at it, not because it accomplishes anything else, but because your brain thrives on creativity, because creativity regulates your emotions, because creativity strengthens your identity, and because creativity connects you with a part of yourself that adulthood often pushes aside. Creativity is not childish. It's human. It's healing. And according to the newest neuroscience, it might even help your brain stay younger longer. That's all I have for you today, my friends. Until next time, choose peace, and I will see you on Monday.